On another note, in that regard, the thing that stood out to me in the CFP, and I'll get out of the Pac-12 because I'll talk Pac-12 later, but non-Pac-12 was Clemson. Like, we all watched them. In the last 3 weeks, they've had 2 games, and they've played 2 quarterbacks in both games. For them to sit at 10, I just sat there and I'm like, if they were up against Ole Miss, UCLA, Utah, the team's right behind them. It's just not, it's just a reality, I think. And I was surprised that the committee put them there, because I know how this thing works. Like, you present, I get to be on the team that presents on behalf of the Pac-12. I've told you guys this before. You present your teams for the top 4, and then you present your teams for the top 25. And you have to make a case. You have to provide context with that case. Well, they also are absorbing all that context. And the context with Clemson is, we're not getting good play at our quarterback position. No. And for them to sit still at 10, knowing what their path is, like, I don't think anybody's going to sit here and say dramatically challenging up until their title game. I think it's North Carolina. I think we'd assume that they would play. But it's not like they have, anybody like the Georgia's Roman Army coming through. So I thought that was really interesting to see where they put them, because if we're reading the room right, they're sitting at 10, meaning that's where they think they are today moving forward. And I'm just like, I don't know if they're top 15 moving forward. So that one really,
you're just being real nice about it. They're not top 15. You're just being very nice to them and their fan base. I'm going to just say it. Clemson, honestly, they didn't disappoint me. We've been talking about this all year, Clint, you and I especially. That was about what I saw, and called the game on this here broadcast a couple times. They'll drop at Notre Dame. And all the rest of this stuff, like, they were just winning games on credit, borrowing from this, leveraging that. Like, they didn't really have it. They didn't really have it. And it just looked disappointing at Notre Dame. Really, it's not the loss. You go up there and lose 28-21. Hey, tough break in the fourth quarter. The game was a non-contest midway through the first quarter. A Notre Dame team that hopped up, pounced on them from the beginning. Both sides of the ball. It wasn't like it was just some kind of dumpster fire on offense. No leadership at the quarterback position, no stability from that standpoint. And then a team wobbles. They're going to wobble. How are they going to stabilize themselves? And they got beat. But the defense, this vaunted frontline defense they had, got ran through. Notre Dame put the ball on the ground for a tune of like 275 yards rushing. No trickery. And their quarterback would be a 4th stringer at Clemson. And they beat him. He would. I'm not even knocking him. Drew Pine, and God bless him, and we've worked with him. If he walked in Clemson's quarterback room, he'd be 4th. And he led the charge. And he knocked him out. But if you look, and to Yogi's point, Clint, if you put Clemson and Ole Miss, neutral site, who's coming out?
I'd bet Ole Miss. Hell, I bet Notre Dame last week.
If you put Clemson and UCLA at a neutral site, who's coming out?
LA.
Utah, Penn State, North Carolina is going to be real drama. These guys haven't done anything but win since they lost that one close one in September. They're going to get again, Yogi, to me, it just goes back to legacy, and these guys have been here at the party so often, and their credentials, come on, can you see try it again, run it again. And it never really did register. Whoever's at the gates was like, oh hell, we know him. Come on. Let him on in. And they were with you? Yeah, we'll be good. All right, come on. That's how it went. Clemson should nowhere near be on here. And if we're looking below them, Clint, imagine looking above them. Bama, SC, LSU, Oregon, all knockouts.
No question.
We're not competitive in any of those. Just to be honest, it's the worst of the top. You have to go all the way down, to me, honestly, to NC State before you find a team that they can really go in and tangle with, that Vegas would get even money on. The other 15 teams or 14 teams, no.
And it'll be interesting, Clint. So I'm intrigued to see how they handle all this. We've seen when, Buster Douglas punches Tyson, dropped him. Like, this is I think it's a moment for that program, as college football is in a moment as well.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the deal, Yog, I think that team's Dabo Swinney's done enough from a talent perspective, and the way the ACC is right now in terms of Miami being down, Florida State not being who they typically are, yada yada yada. You get the point. I think they're going to talent their way to an acceptable season. Like when we look back, like right now, we look back at last year and go, "Oh, they lost 3 games. Man, no big deal. It's a bad season at Clemson. That's a great season anywhere else." Right? We make excuses because of how good they have been in the past. But in reality, to hell with the records. I'll say that there is no glue in Clemson right now. There's a lot of really good players. There's a lot of dudes on that defense that are on that defensive front that I think are going to be drafted early in the draft. You can't tell me that Clemson doesn't have pass catchers. I mean, Clemson has pass catchers that people would die for outside the top 10 right now. I don't know who they are. I'm just saying that's just the reality of it. Right now, and I've thought this from the jump, when you talk about DJU, great talent, good player, all that's great. But with the dudes that you're in the huddle with, you got 10 sets of eyeballs staring back at you. Do they believe in you? Would they take a bullet for you? Are you the glue that keeps those guys together when shit gets rough? Are you that dude? And I think when Clemson doesn't have that dude, they're a 8, 9 wins. Say it again.
Let me tell you,
They're mortal. They're mortal.
Yeah. And when they have that dude, and you can say it's about a lot of teams, but when they have that dude, they can win it all. It's that. I think it's that powerful when your quarterback or whoever your leader is supposed to be. If that guy's not that alpha in the room that we talked about week 1, George, when we came on here, if he's not that alpha in the room and guys roll their eyes when he starts to talk, you're gonna underachieve.